Welcome to my channel, KC. That's me, Carrie Chug, the Sledge storyteller, here to talk about the wonderful world of storytelling and to look into some insights about. Don't believe this guy, he's an imposter. Well, look who's wearing the traditional gray shirt. It was time to depart from the traditional gray shirt since I started getting Sledge shirts. So going forward, this is going to be the attire theme. No, it's after the Christmas season, so it's time to get back to the traditional gray shirt. And the traditional gray shirt didn't have any hole in the breast pocket. Prove that I didn't just snag it during the Christmas season. So yes, welcome to my channel, KC. That's me, Carrie Chug, the Sledge storyteller. Hope everybody had a wonderful beginning to their 2021, and here's hoping that it will be that much better than 2020. But anyway, so very little has been in this channel about the promotion of my character Sledge, and this will continually be focused primarily about the storytelling principles, discussing them. Just today, I wanted to take some time with a little self-indulgence to talk about Sledge, to talk about what went into his creation, and to give people some insight and hopes that they may find this interesting enough to have a look at it. So, we all start out with what's in a name. So, it feels like naming a superhero nowadays isn't as easy as it was when superheroes first came out. I mean, any word that we thought was cool, it could be put in front of man, or it could be put after captain, and that would work. But, that's become cliche. And so I had to think hard, and I had to think about, what was I trying to do to make him appealing? What was I trying to do to emphasize what he was about, what he could do? And, I wanted to emphasize just how strong he was, how dangerous he was, how formidable he was, as well as I wanted to emphasize his ability to fly. So I took a symbol of power, bear. I took a symbol of flight, hawk, and just took some of their letters and put them together to be Brock. And I can't say that I was all that satisfied during the few years that I was using that name. And I learned that that's kind of the onomatopoeia for the sound that a chicken makes, and in some stories, Brock, 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 Brock. And I don't know if this would have been much of a copyright issue, but in the world of Star Wars, and at least in the novelizations, there is a Brock. He's an imperial officer who's easily bribed. So those kinds of things led me to think, we got to come up with something different. And what did I defer to? I actually went with, of course, Sledge. And where did that come from? Wouldn't you know it? It was a nickname I picked up in high school. Now, the name that has never changed, that is Carl Eisenburg. So, with Carl Eisenburg, I have to admit that my favorite foreign language is German. And I took a lot of it in school. I spent some time there in Germany. And I thought to myself, I would like to come up with a German-based name. And Carl, that came almost immediately because here I am in both cases for first and last name. I wanted something that sounded good and that had a nice meaning to it. And Carl in Old German, it stems from, it's all part of the name Charles, and that has its roots with having a meaning of strong and manly. Wasn't so easy when it came to the last name. So I was going over all kinds of the more familiar German names like Schmidt and Schultz. They didn't seem to fit. And so I was just going to notice anything that might pop up. And one thing that popped up and stuck was, of course, Eisenburg. I noticed it in this case It was actually the name Max Eisenberg. It came up in the opening credits for an episode of Matlock. And I noticed the spelling Eisenberg. And I love the meaning to that. In German, that means Iron Mountain. So that had a nice feel of solidarity, of permanence. But then it occurred to me that if I change the Berg part to Burg, that would change it to Iron Fortress, and that made it a little bit more feeling of, still the solidarity and permanence, and also, have a strong strength of being able to fight back. So that's how I settled on Carl Eisenberg. Moving right along to a very common superhero trope, and that is costumes. So superheroes often have tights to emphasize musculature, and I wanted to go the same route with what was then Brock, with a spandex shirt and shorts to emphasize the musculature, but always at the same time, I realized I had to change it along with the name, and I thought I'd better change it to be less costumey. So for that reason, I gave him kind of a military t-shirt and military pants with a utility harness, basic cowl, and okay, he's black and white in Sledge number 1, but I can show you here what I've always had in mind that his color scheme be, and that's blue, which works better to blend in with an urban setting, whereas if he's wearing the green type of garb, he looks like a wannabe commando. But here I wanted to take it down to basics. Here he looks like he's somebody who has an idea of what he's doing based on how he looks and how he operates, and that's the basis for his costume. So how can you outline a superhero without also talking about either powers or abilities? So the focus here is abilities. So my basic summarization of Sledge in comparison to more familiar characters is as a poor man's Iron Man, artificial Superman, gadget enhanced Batman, or Peter Parker who couldn't get the spider bite, so he called Charles Atlas. So with Iron Man and Superman, that's two sides of the same coin. So I wanted to keep emphasis on muscular form. So that's where poor man's Iron Man comes, and I gave him a force shield rather than actual metal armor to make bullets bounce off like Superman. And the Batman, he influences Sledge as being a product of his own hard work, trained to the zenith of athleticism. And one thing that is overkill with Batman is to say that he has mastered all 127 martial arts out there, because that's unrealistic. It takes years to master each martial art. And even when you factor in the overlap of transitioning punching ability from boxing to karate, and the raw ability to use one martial arts form in tournaments is vastly different from having to fight on the street. It's not just you're going to be able to use it that way. You have strict rules in tournaments. So after learning a lot about martial arts and so many forms, how they work, and I decided that Sledge, he would be a master at Krav Maga. The flight, I've emphasized it time and again that it's all about his figuring out what gravitons are all about. And from here, I give him gadgets, and with Batman, I've always loved the magnetic grapple, but here, Sledge, he's got a magnetic grapple. We haven't seen this just yet, but sooner or later you're going to see this, where his grapple is not use a cable. It has a magnetic charge, so it basically flies out and he retrieves it magnetically. And beyond that, basic gadgets of where he might use it, smoke pellets or bolos, much like, not just Batman, but lots of other characters have used it in their weaponry. As for the comparison with Peter Parker or Spider-Man, so, I gave Carl a middle-class background that might be a little higher than Peter Parker's background. But like Peter Parker, he got kicked around during his days in school. And like Peter Parker, initially he uses his new abilities. In Carl's case, is what he's picked up from, figuratively, Charles Atlas for selfish purposes. And another factor I want to say goes into play with Peter Parker is the Everman status. I mean, not the same Charlie Brown type of thing, but we'll see a lot when it comes to Carl's life outside of crime fighting. He's got his own ambitions when it comes to his trade, which is freelance inventing, and it's all about his relationships. There will be a romantic one that goes into play, and I don't want to just be run of the mill. I want it to feel a little bit more realistic. But Carl, I do believe he can be someone that you can relate to. But that Sledge, what it's all about with me, and the emphasis telling the story of his day-to-day life as well as his crime fighting. He'll actually have other things he has in mind to help make a difference in his community and for mankind in general. And I hope I've intrigued you enough. I've got the link below the description there. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe or follow me on Instagram. And it's a new year. Hopefully, again, things get better. We'll probably have to be patient before we can finally ceremoniously burn our masks. Until then, everybody be safe and God bless.